United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. I want to start out by saying that we just came out of executive session in which we have voted in favor of the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, Local 353. So our police union, we've voted to approve that. Before we actually take the formal ratification vote, I would ask our attorney Terry to come up and just highlight the major changes in that contract.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, we have concluded bargaining with the police union and do have an agreement which they ratified earlier today as well. The highlights of that agreement are probably 3 or 4 in number. First one is there is an elimination of a sick leave buyback for employees that is eliminated for any employee hired on or after July 1 of 2009. That does present a significant benefit to the town, as these sick leave buybacks can create a significant liability upon retirement. The second piece in this is an increased education incentive. As the board is aware, as some members of the public may be aware, there has been an incentive called the Quinn Bill that the state created that ceased to be funded and was closed in 2009. As a result of that, individuals who have been hired since 2009, July 1 of 2009, no longer receive educational incentive through the town. Other communities do offer that as a means of ensuring that you maintain an educated workforce, educated police department, as well as remaining competitive with the market around you. We have been able to negotiate successfully a flat dollar-based incentive for officers who were eligible for the state benefit before. In addition, we've been able to negotiate a base wage package that confines increases to less than 2% per year. In the first year, it's 2%, but it's split in half, which minimizes the impact to the town on a budgetary basis. There'll be 1% increase July 1st, 2013, retroactive about 5 weeks, another 1% in January, and then 2% on both July 1st, 2014 and 2015, for a total 6% over 3 years. And the last part was a significant improvement in the managerial prerogatives of the town. This does allow the chief and the town generally to make a significant number of decisions without additional bargaining with the union, and is a significant issue and a significant accomplishment for the town, so that it may make changes that are as necessary over the next 3 years. Happy to take any questions.
Does the board have any questions? Does the board have any comments before we take an official ratification vote?
Just wanted to say, as was pointed out earlier when we were meeting, it's pretty rare that we get a contract together in the same year as the last one expired. Historically, it's been a challenge to work through some of these contracts, and for a bunch of different reasons, you know, not assigning blame, just saying. We currently have a very good working relationship between the chief, the town manager, and the bargaining group, the union. And I want to thank them. I appreciate their help in working through this effectively, efficiently, and I think it's a good balanced contract for the town, for the taxpayers, for the townspeople. So I just want to thank everyone involved for getting it done.
I also additionally wanted to thank everybody who was involved. It's amazing what can be done and how quickly it can be done when everybody comes with realistic expectations and realistic goals and really good communication. Additionally, to all the people that Mr. Matthews just thanked, I want to thank Attorney Terry for being there at the table too with us, with the chief and with our town manager. So, and I'd like to thank the union themselves, because again, it really is a negotiation that both sides have to be in communication, and I think this was done with incredible speed and I think an incredible fairness for what the town got out of this and what the union got out of it too, and I really think it presents a good contract for everyone involved.
Didn't mean to leave you off, Mark, sorry.
So I would entertain a motion that we ratify in open session the contract for the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, Local 353.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because we have the chief in attendance, we're going to go down to appointments in a second. We have some appointments for new reserve police officers, so Chief Marino.
Good evening, and thanks for having us here tonight. I'd like to recommend Devin O'Brien, Bradley McNamara, and Quinn Smith for an appointment to Reserve Police Officer. Devin's a resident of Lunenburg, graduate of Montezut Regional Vocational Technical School. He's completed 350 hours of training with the Department of Corrections. He's currently working full-time with the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department as a full-time corrections officer. He's completed the municipal police training, 242-hour reserve intermittent police academy at West Boylston as well. And Devin is also a certified EMT. Brad McNamara, he's been employed by the Mass Department of Corrections since 2008 as a full-time corrections officer. He's a graduate of Endicott College, holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in criminal justice. He did his college internship with the North Worcester County Drug Task Force through the Clinton Police Department, and he too has successfully completed the 242-hour Reserve Intermittent Police Academy at West Boylston. And Quinn Smith is a graduate of the American International College in Springfield, Mass. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He did his internship with the Springfield Police Department and is currently employed by the Fitchburg Recreation Department. He, too, has successfully completed the reserve 242-hour training. All three candidates have been cleared medically and completed a background check, a physical agility test, and I believe they're going to be an asset to the police department. So I ask you to ratify their appointments.
Are they here this
They
evening?
are.
Yeah,
Come
soon.
up there.
If they can please come up and just at least introduce ourselves. We're not going to... Good evening, gentlemen. So if I would just step up to the mic and just introduce yourself so we know who is who.
I'm Devin O'Brien.
Quinn Smith.
Brad McNamara.
Thank you. And so you have obviously reviewed them and have them, and so the town manager, you have worked with the chief on these appointments as well?
Yes, I have, and I am making this recommendation and would ask that you ratify it.
Any questions or statements from the board?
Just want to say, once again, the chief has gone out and recruited some excellent candidates, and the chief has been developing a plan here, a system where full-time officers start with the reserve officers, so it's just a good development core, good opportunity to get eyes on you men when you're out in the street and get him familiar and comfortable with you, and it's working out well so far, so just welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I look forward to having you work in Lunenburg. Thank you for applying here and for being selected here. I would entertain a motion on the 3 reserve officer appointments.
So moved.
I don't know that I moved anything, okay, so. Are you recommending approval? Okay,
Yes.
that's what I figured.
Yes.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing you on the streets.
Welcome aboard.
Chief, come.
Chief, I understand that there's something you wanted to present or read.
Oh, I have another one. It's in your folder. I saw you put it in your folder. I have another one.
Thank you. There was an incident that I think bears mentioning. On July 25th, 2013, in the early afternoon, Officer Sean Zarate responded to a suspicious person call at 564 Goodrich Street. A female knocked at a door at that residence and asked to speak to a person by a name that was not associated with that residence. The homeowner found this suspicious, and as there was nobody living in the home bearing that name, she called the police. Description of the suspect was given out, and a description of the vehicle also. Officer Zarate responded to the call immediately and observed the vehicle matching that description parked in a driveway at 545 Goodrich Street. He noticed that the door was open and the front door on the residence was open. Sergeant Gamble and Detective Thibodeau arrived to assist them. The Shirley Police Department and the State Police were also called for additional support. Officers Zarate, Sergeant Gamble, and Detective Thibodeau went into the open door and found evidence immediately that the residence had been burglarized, and within minutes apprehended 2 of the suspects involved, one who fled in the woods adjacent to the wooded area, and the other one who was found in the back seat of the car. Short time later, a 3rd suspect was apprehended by Sergeant Peter Violetta of the Shirley Police Department. While in the process of apprehending the suspects, 2 more burglaries were reported in that area, which were later linked to those suspects. I would say that the keen observation skills and situational awareness of Officer Sean Zarate and the swift and professional response of Sergeant Gamble, Detective Thibodeau, and Sergeant Violetta to the resident's complaint resulted in the recovery of a large amount of stolen property and the arrest of these suspects, who were charged with numerous counts of burglary in Lunenburg and at least 2 other neighboring communities. It's without hesitation that I'd like to recognize and commend the actions of these officers and the resident who reported the incident to the police. The level of information provided by that resident and the spirit of cooperation exhibited by the reporting party and the tenacious efforts on the part of the officers during the incidents, along with the massive follow-up investigation that ensued, which involved other law enforcement agencies as well, was impressive to say the least. And I'd like to extend my gratitude to the resident with whom this crime may never have been resolved, and to the police officers who it's an honor and pleasure to work with.
Thank you
was
so
a
much
good
for sharing
job.
that. I had read, that is an excellent job, and that's excellent from every part of that, from the initial report and from the cooperation, the quick response, as you just said, from our police department, the cooperation with the Mass State Police and Shirley Police. It really was a great piece of community police work that worked very well. So
Yes, indeed.
thank you for reporting that to us.
Well, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Chief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, there's just one. I just want to do this. There was just one announcement tonight, and that is, one is that last night was the last night of the town band concerts at the town gazebo. So that was another excellent 5-week series. They did a great job. It was great attendance last night. The weather was beautiful. And so thank you to Conductor Archambault and all the players and all the people who sponsored over those 5 weeks and all the people who attended, because it really is a really wonderful community event. And what I want to announce is that, as I have been, that this coming Monday, August 12th, will be an additional concert, not of the town band, but it's a local band from Lunenburg called the Spy Tones, which is they describe themselves as a local surf band. And it is going to be at the town gazebo the same time as the other band concert, 7 p.m. And it is a benefit for the Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg. And as all the band concerts have, there'll be food and refreshments being sold there, and there'll be a 50-50 raffle. It's a great time to have fun with a different band up at the town gazebo and the Gilchrist Town, the Gilchrist Town Concert Gazebo, and also to support the local Boys and Girls Club in their efforts, which are always welcome in the community. So thank you, and I hope to see you there. Any public?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this afternoon I had the pleasure of attending the Eagle House Volunteer Recognition Cookout, at which the Lunenburg Police and Fire performed the duties at the barbecue, and several volunteers were recognized with certificates and a token of recognition for their service to the Eagle House. Individual volunteers contributed their time during the year from anywhere from over 50 hours, several in the thousands, and one over 3,000 hours of volunteer work. It was an excellent event. Wow. And I had a very good time, and I think I was recruited to be a bingo caller in the near future.
There you go. Start practicing. Any other public comment from the board?
Just follow up, I had a brief discussion with the chief before. You know, we had an incident down, well, it wasn't in Lunenburg, Lakefront Avenue, but on Main Street in Leominster, where there was a fight, there was a accident, and a gentleman was killed in a car accident. He was run over, you know, not in Lunenburg, but just over the border. And, you know, I think we have, as a licensing authority for this town, I think we need to get to a place where Lunenburg and Leominster are talking more, which the chief is going to be reaching out to the chief of police in Leominster, have some discussions with him. We need to be getting some more feedback and data on the number of incidences that are happening at these various establishments. And I think we need to all work together, work with the establishment owners, work with the police departments, and look at our licensing procedures and get in front of this before another tragedy happens. Just sheer luck of the draw, it did not happen in our town. So I don't want to take it lightly. You know, we have to work with our neighbors. We got to get in front of this, and we got to put an end to it, because Lakefront Avenue should be a wonderful place that everybody should want to go to in this town. You know, it should be inviting and open to every resident and people from around the area to go in there, have a drink, have a sandwich, enjoy the lake. And it shouldn't be a place where it's bar fights and motor vehicle homicide late at night. So, again, I look forward. The chief said he's going to start this process. Of course, the chief of police in Leominster is extremely busy this week, but they're going to get together and talk. But I think we need to get that on our radar and get in front of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing. In light of the Secretary of State's investigation of the annual town election, I want to recommend to the board that whatever candidates are recommended to us as election officers that are coming through that process, that we make sure that we do an interview process, even if there's not more than one candidate for each position. That will be our opportunity to talk to them to make sure that what went on at that election doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Any public comment from the public? Sir.
How are you doing tonight?
Good.
I'm here on behalf of the fundraising committee for the Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg. We'd like to request to do a voluntary toll on September 7th at the intersections of Whalen Road and Electric Ave, and this intersection here in the center of town. I believe it's going to be from 9 a.m. until noon. 9 a.m. till noon. All the past tolls have been quite a success for the organization. We have the appropriate signage, traffic cones, safety colored attire for all the volunteers, and we won't have anybody under 18 volunteering at it.
Do we have we haven't developed a form yet, have we?
No.
Okay. That's a Saturday, you said, right?
Yes, Saturday, September 7th. Okay. Just make sure. Yes.
Generally, we ask that the applicants just check. So if the director would check with the chief of police. I know that we have, with the police department, I know that the Boys and Girls Club has collected before, but it's always good to run by them and just make sure there's that all the rules that the safety rules that they want to see enforced and want to see followed are followed. So
absolutely,
if somebody from the organization could do that.
Well, we can, and we'll have to put it on next week's
Right, and we
agenda.
won't vote on it tonight anyway because it's not on the agenda, so it will go on next week's agenda.
Okay.
So if somebody could come back and tell us that somebody in that week, then between now and next Tuesday, has spoken to the police chief, that would be great.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions? Nope. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, right on time.
No, yeah, okay.
Is anybody here about the change of manager at Mickey Shays? No. So we'll bypass that and go to our 7:15 public hearing on a Class 2 used car dealer's license for Discount Auto and Marine doing business as Fitchburg Marine and Auto. And the town of, notice to abutters, July 23rd, 2013, Town of Lunenburg, notice of public hearing. The licensing authority will hold a public hearing on August 6, 2013 at 7:15 in the Joseph F. Bellata Meeting Room, second floor, Town Hall, on the application submitted by Discount Auto and Marine doing business as Fitchburg Marine and Auto for a Class 2 license. This license is to be exercised at the premise located at 27 Massachusetts Avenue, Lunenburg. Tom Alonso, Chairman, Board of Selectmen Licensing Authority. So the public hearing is now open.
Good evening.
If you would introduce yourself and
Rick Cuddy, owner of Fitchburg Marine and Auto.
just tell us a little about the request for the license.
Well, I've taken over the company. It's been there for over 25 years, and given the economy, last thing people are taking out these days are their boats because of the cost of gasoline and stuff like that, and we're just trying to supplement income to pay our bills and continue our business. Some 20, 25 years ago, Heichlers had that property as a used car lot. In fact, the lines for the parking area are still on the pavement, and we'd like to bring in a maximum of 10 vehicles of used vehicles for sale. We would have a designated area as along the fence where the Hub Bowling Alley was. We call that Power Sports, I guess now. And we had designated the areas for the boats on the other side and the mechanic area in the back for the boat work, and the storage overflow area parking in the back.
I say you I was going to ask, but I see you have the special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yes.
And we have the diagram.
Basis for this, just supplement income. Pay the bills, try to stay there.
Sure. No changes in hours of operation or anything?
Everything remain. Just keep going as we've been.
Anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
No questions, just pointing out the ZBA went through the process they always do. They got feedback from neighbors. It's all positive. Everyone's supportive. There's normal restrictions they put in place, and it looks like the Board of Health had some input as far as dust and odors and air pollution, et cetera, so looks to be in pretty good shape.
So no questions? So as this is a public hearing and the abutters were notified, I would ask if anybody is here as an abutter willing to speak in favor or against the application. And let the record show that no one responded in either way. So I would entertain a motion on the request for a Class 2 license.
Would make a motion to approve the request for the license.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank
Good
you all
luck.
Good luck.
very much.
Okay, so we're going to come back to, well, we see 7:30. We have a request here from the Lunenburg Firefighters Association to have a bonfire on August 24th, 2013.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Rick Howard, President of the Lunenburg Firefighters Association. And tonight we're looking for your approval to hold the bonfire, annual community bonfire on August 24th from 4 to 9 in front of the high school. We've already been in contact with the high school. We have their approval. Both the chief of the police and the fire chief all okayed it and everything, so you guys are the final step for us.
That is also a Saturday, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, it is a Saturday, yeah.
Well, it is a wonderful event, the bonfire, and I'm glad it's making a comeback again. I think last year we missed it, but...
Oh, yeah, we have, I think we're up to like 22 vendors now this year, which is more than last year. We have a country singer coming in. We have a DJ who's going to be there, and obviously we have the bonfire and a bunch of kids' games this year, so
Is it going to be all run by the Lunenburg firefighters?
Yeah, we're the sponsors, we host it. We have the Lions Club, the Boys and Girls Club on board. We have a couple booster clubs. What we try to do is get the vendors to be the community groups. And they come in and they have their little vendor spot, and whatever they partake in is how well they do. And we traditionally run the food table and the raffle table as a fundraiser for ourselves. So, I mean, hopefully we'll have around 2,000 people there Saturday. Weather permitting, of course.
Right, well.
Always keep our fingers crossed.
Unless there are questions from the board, I would entertain a motion on the request to have the bonfire sponsored by Lunenburg Firefighters Association on Saturday, August 24th from 4 to 9 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Excellent.
Wow, we're batting
That was
thousands
easy.
tonight.
It is today.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
Yes. Well, we're gonna address it, yeah. So at 7 o'clock, we had a change of manager request for B&H Corporation doing business as Mickey Shays on 324 Electric Ave. And nobody is in attendance from there.
No, and it is my understanding that the applicant was advised that somebody needed to attend to speak to this application. It is important that this applicant have this change of manager processed because currently there is no valid manager of record for this establishment. So, I mean, I guess my recommendation would be that it be continued to your next agenda, but if the applicant does not show, then I would be requesting that you look at taking some action against this license because the applicant needs to have a valid manager for the.
And just for the record, how long have they not had a manager?
Well, that I'm not sure that I can answer that. It's been a substantial period of time, potentially in excess of a year, but with I'm not 100% how long it's been. This has been a little bit of an eye-opening process because I did speak with town council. Attorney Brian Riley at Copeland and Page is the attorney that I work with on license issues, and he's been before the board before. And I asked him, is the town going to be, we renew these licenses on an annual basis. Are we going to have to be put in the position where we have to ask, do you still have the same manager? Can you document that you have the same manager? We haven't had to do that before. And he said, no, that's not something that you need to do. That is a responsibility of the applicant.
And in the application for the renewal every year, is the manager listed?
There is a place to list the manager, because I wasn't 100% sure, so I went back to look, and there is a place to list the manager. And there has been, the current manager of record has been listed, but based on some communication that I received a letter, that person is not the manager of record and has not been the manager, has not been a part of that business for some period of time.
So potentially then this license holder has submitted inaccurate information to us? To get their license?
Yes.
Perhaps year after year.
And
that same license holder is not here tonight, even though they knew we were talking about this tonight.
Even though they were requested to supply it, in a letter by the town manager from July 11th, stated that they needed to provide somebody. And so they have paperwork, but they don't have a person here. And I think hand in hand with what you said earlier, Mr. Matthews, about, our role as licensing authority, this is something I think that is of incredible importance for us in our role as licensing authority, that when something of this nature comes to light, I think we will continue it. And whether or not somebody is here next week, there will be action taking on this, I believe. So I think
Mr. Chairman, as I read this, the establishment has been notified and warned, and there's quite a bit of paperwork here that they were aware of the seriousness of this. Is it possible for us to, instead of waiting for the continuance, to take some action and give them X amount of time to respond, as opposed to waiting for the next meeting and then starting the clock?
Well, at this point in time, the applicant has submitted a complete application for change of manager, so there isn't anything that we are waiting for in order to act on this. And I would recommend against taking, it would be inappropriate for you to take any other action at this evening's meeting because it's not properly posted on the agenda.
Right, so this is the license, this is just change of manager.
Right.
So we need to put something on that's more inclusive next week.
In the event they don't show up.
Right.
As far as taking action.
Right,
Because if
so
this
we
were-
have to have that ability with our agenda item, that we're gonna have an item on the agenda that not is only a change manager or other action to be taken on the license of.
I mean, I guess
Okay.
technically, the police officers who are our licensing agents could actually take action against them if they didn't respond. I mean, I'm not sure
Well-
if if there's been no manager since
Well, we do.
2010.
We are the licensing authority, we could vote many things about their license because they are they have been in violation of this.
I guess just to follow up Jamie's comment is that it wouldn't hurt to follow up with a letter, just a simple letter tomorrow saying this has to be dealt with. I mean, I know you've already sent it before, but since they didn't show up tonight, I think that's we need to start the ground,
Right.
get the ground running.
I'd like to add to that, I would like to see as part of our packet for next week, the license applications from the past 3 years, so that we can see what the documentation was submitted, what kind of claims they made when they submitted them.
Yep.
And if the license holder has done anything illegal, I'd like that, understood that from the town council. And I would recommend that the license holder be here next week, because it
And the
seems like he
manager.
has,
Both, the license holder and the manager.
yeah, specifically, I want to make sure that he doesn't think he can just send in the manager and be done with it.
With regard to including on next week's agenda, taking potential adverse action against the license, I will review that with council because there are certain
Notice required, yeah.
requirements, and I know we're not going to be inside of those.
Okay, so if we can, all right, that's fine. Then we should look at that and see within the licensing authority we have and what actions we can take. We should look into what notifications we
Yeah.
need.
So I can put together.
And I want that, and I want that set in motion. I think we all are in agreement. We want that set in motion regardless of what happens next week, because this definitely has to be looked into.
Right. And the documentation I requested, I would like that,
Yes.
no
Yeah.
matter what.
And I would suggest that we go back and review the policies that I think you did before we got on the board to look at the liquor license policy that the board does for its procedures.
Right.
And
I
just-
think I think we all have those.
Just to
Yep.
go back to look
Yep,
at
I
that as
agree.
well.
Okay. So, current business. I'll do 1 and 2 together. Is there anything on 1 and 2 with the pilot agreements?
The,
Pilot agreements for New Gen and EPG Solar.
okay, so I would like to take them separate, just
Okay,
so I can
let's
provide
do
an
the New
update.
Gen.
So Nugent did meet with the assessor. We had, the town meeting action was specific to what the pilot payment would be for personal property for these types of projects, $18,018 per megawatt for personal property, plus a payment for real estate. So the developer met with the assessor over the last couple of weeks. The assessor put together a pro forma on what the real estate would be based on the valuation of the property. The Nugent parcel is about 110 acres, but only about 10 acres will be developed for the solar facility. The assessor did put that together and included, you know, the highest valuation for the 10 acres that will be developed, and then the rest of the land is considered, some of it is undevelopable and some of it is just excess land. So he did put that together. There was some discussion about it. The developer has agreed with the methodology that the assessor put together, but the language in the pilot, and what the developer would like to do, and I think what makes the most sense, is have the pilot just address the personal property, and the real estate just be assessed separately on an annual basis so that we're capturing the 2.5%. But the current pilot references both the personal property and real estate, so those references need to be taken out of the document, and our attorney didn't have a chance to clean that document up. I told him I absolutely have to have this done next week. Because this developer is ready to go. The project has been filed in the DPUQ, and he's anxious to move forward.
Now, the real estate, is that the entire plot or just the 10 acres?
It is on the entire property,
Okay.
but the developer has expressed an interest in filing for Chapter 61B on the undevelopable and excess land. So, so that it looks like that's what will happen. And so the real estate taxes associated with the 10 acres, I don't have it in front of me, but they were roughly about $6,500. And then he would be looking to file for 61B on the rest of the
And that's
property.
forestry?
That is recreation.
Recreation.
Yes.
Okay, so any questions about New Gen? So now the pilot agreement with EPG Solar.
So EPG Solar, I did speak with the developer this week, and there seems to be a difference of opinion between the developer and the property owner on the status of the land lease and/or purchase and sale for that property. I did tell the developer, until somebody can give me a document saying whether or not there is an agreement. The developer says there is an agreement, and it is in front of the bankruptcy court judge awaiting the signed pilot. The property owner says there isn't an agreement. So I told the developer, until I can see an agreement, the town isn't going to continue to expend any resources to negotiate this. The form of the pilot it's the same for both projects, so it's done. The assessor has put together the pro forma on the real estate. There really isn't anything else for us to do, but I mean, even to have any conversations back and forth with council at this point doesn't make any sense. I think we're just about there, but if there's no agreement on what's happening with the property, that's outside of our control, and I honestly, I don't have any reason to believe that either party is not telling me the truth, so I don't really know where that stands until I see a document. So the developer said that he was going to consider his options and get back to us, and I told him, you know, until I hear from him, we're not proceeding with the project. Not with the project, we're not proceeding with expending any more resources.
So his position is that the bankruptcy court has whatever agreement that he says has, and it's subject to the pilot? Was his?
Yes, it was subject to approval of the power purchase agreement and the pilot. The power purchase agreement has already been signed.
Right. Because I'm not clear what the bankruptcy court's authorization is on that. It relates to that. So I would hope that he would get back to what the court would require, and if we have correspondence from the court, then that gives you an agreement that's by the court. But
And that's exactly,
The
the
hearsay.
town manager and I spoke earlier, and that's what I suggested as well. The only way we're going to know that something's before the court is if we get something from the court saying that this has been submitted to them and they are evaluating it. Anything else about EPG Solar? Any questions? Okay, renewal of base license for Lakeview Driving Range.
So this is an annual license that you would typically approve. It is for a calendar year, but because of the nature of the business, they're only open in the spring and the summer and the fall. It usually it's a little earlier than this that it comes before us. I'm not sure why. We haven't seen it before, but this is for a license for Lakeview Golf Driving Range, effective through April 30, 2014. This base license is just,
Is this the only base license
this
we
is the
have?
only base license we have, yes.
That's what I thought. So, any question or discussion?
If it runs from now through April, why can't they be on a calendar year?
Well, that's true.
Probably
I
because,
don't
yeah,
know.
I don't know that.
I don't.
Is this under the town bylaws, or is this under state law? Is this,
Probably town bylaw with the base license, I believe, but I'm not sure.
It's definitely referenced in the bylaws. I don't know if it comes from statute or not.
when does the current license expire?
Well, I would say it expired April 30, or
Right.
2013.
Since this one's only going to April 30th of 2014, I'm guessing that the other one probably went and started on May 1st and ended April 30th, 2013. That would be my guess, but I don't have that in front of me.
I'm not against this, but I don't feel like I have enough information to vote on this. If we could get a little more information on the background of what a base license is.
Well, I can say that just for the purpose of this vote, well, he's obviously, or not obviously, but possibly been running without a license anyway, so if we postpone it for a week, I don't think it matters, but it's to let him operate what he's been operating for years. So I'm not against us investigating why this one is the lone one that comes in the middle of a year, and why he can't be at the beginning of the year when all the licenses are, so hopefully we can do that.
Because I don't think this was in the packet that was sent out. It was on the agenda, but I don't have any information.
Yeah,
on-
there's no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm not suggesting we don't approve it. I just thought we could get them all in the same.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. I'm just saying, I mean, if people here are not comfortable, we'll put it off till next week. I mean, if you want, I don't know was there an application that goes with this?
That is all that is in the file, and it is, I apologize, I thought that I included it in the packet, but it wasn't in the packet, so.
Okay, so we'll hold off then until next week for this. And hopefully we'll have an explanation about why it is, if there's a reason why it is when it is. Otherwise, we'll just try to approve it till the end of the year when we have to renew everything else. Let's skip over the discussion of the policies, and we'll come back to that. Minutes. And warrants. Just an accounts payable warrant in the amount of $419,254.91. Action file issues. Any action file issues? Committee reports. Board of Health.
No report?
Capital Planning Committee.
Nothing since last report. Next meeting is the 14th of August.
Okay. Finance Committee.
They began work on their fiscal policies, reviewing definitions, policies of other towns, benchmarking, et cetera, and their next meeting is this coming Thursday.
Library Board of Trustees.
Next meeting is in September.
MPO, Paula's not here. Planning Board, Paula's not here. PAC.
No report. They finished their end of the year process and looked at programming for the future.
School Committee.
Haven't met, they're going to be meeting tomorrow night. It'll be a joint meeting with the School Building Committee to review the school building project update.
Is that here?
They will be here, it'll be televised.
Okay, excellent. Sewer Commission.
Wait a minute.
Oh, so sorry. School Building Committee. Sorry. School Building Committee.
Got all this paper to go through. First and foremost, just want to remind people, we do have a vacancy on the School Building Committee. It would be just a member of the general public, so we're looking for anyone who wants to play a role in the next steps of this project. It's pretty vital. Things are starting to take off on, let's see, July 21st, the MSBA voted to approve our preferred plan, preferred schematic design, which of course is the middle school, high school, new building, new facility. That was big news. The facility as designed per MSBA specs will accommodate 820 students, grades 6 through 12. Building area will be 168,000 square feet. Features state-of-the-art classrooms, science laboratories, library media center, auditorium, large cafeteria that can be divided into 4 working spaces. I'm sorry, that's the gymnasium, the cafeteria. The gymnasium will be split up between middle school and high school for the locker rooms, technology labs, a greenhouse, and spaces for special ed, art, music, guidance, etc. The design has been ongoing. Our architect, designer, Tape Associates, has been working extensively with the educators, with administrators, with members of the public to put the thing together. They continue to update the plan as they go with feedback. In addition, the committee voted when we last met again to hire Shawmut Construction as our construction manager at risk. We had gone through the process with 4 applicants. Shawmut Design, at the end of the day, after we looked at both their response and their abilities and what they would bring to the table and their costs, they were the decided favorite. One thing just want to point out that struck everyone's attention was in their process, a big part of it was given toward how it would impact the neighbors around them. Because again, this building will be, behind the existing high school, over more on Oak Street, the Oak Street field, Oak Ave, I should say, Oak Ave field. So there's a bunch of houses right there. So they're putting a lot of effort into coming up with a plan for construction that will minimize the impact on the neighborhood. Although, of course, there will be some impact. It can't be avoided. So tomorrow night, like I said, will be the next update before the school committee. We're going to actually have the school building committee come here as well, do the same thing. I just want to point out, one of the big things that Shawmut will be doing is going through, they're going to come down, go through the design, and work out an actual working budget for what the building will be, building, site work, and all that. They'll be looking at opportunities to reduce costs, how they site the building, how they'll balance the heights and whatnot of there's some areas need fill, some areas need fill taken away. So they'll be going through stick by stick how it's going to be built to find ways to get us a good, solid project that's going to last us 50 years plus and do it as cost effectively as possible. Again, working within the MSBA guidelines. So tune in tomorrow night, and then when we get them on our agenda, we'll have a chance to take another look at it.
7 o'clock tomorrow?
7 o'clock tomorrow.
Excellent. And the MA Broadband Institute. So we had a big conference call yesterday, to bring us all up to date. The project is 95% of construction is completed, close to 96%, and the last 4% is approximately 50 miles of cable left to either run in existing conduits from Verizon or to put up new miles of conduits in various places in Western Mass. Our go-live date is probably going to be December of this year, which got pushed out a little bit, but there's testing and some things got inevitably delayed with a project this size, but still that's very good. One of the questions I asked and I've been asking is continuously about what's called last mile. So once we have the fiber lit in our area and our community anchor institutions like the schools, town hall, police and fire and everything hooked up, library, then we need to have someone who's going to connect and manage that last part, because they are putting in the backbone, not the actual service to businesses, residents, or the community. I mean, the equipment for the community anchor institutions is being provided under the same project grant, but not the actual service to connect you to the internet. So I asked about that, and I was told that the governor has put in $40 million in their IT bond bill that is already gotten out of the House committee and is before the House, and they have not voted yet. That would be put towards establishing avenues that communities can go to, either with third party, or if they want to start their own. Some places out west have decided to start their own electric company, but they're not really providing electric, they're providing IT services. More than likely here, we would try to use some third-party service provider to manage whatever we wanted to do. And I think they're trying to get together a list of those providers in different regions so that you can go to them and start talking with them about how you might work together. So this is still 4 months away, and it'll probably go into next year. I'm hoping that by spring of next year we'll have a plan in place to get people hooked up, but definitely by that point we should at least have the community institutions and all the buildings in town hooked up to it. So I will keep you posted. They are going to have weekly updates about where, if anything slips, and where things are in a town by town. So there's a whole chart. If anybody on the board is interested, I can provide that to you when I receive it. So that's where we are with mass broadband.
Wait, I should go backwards real quick. I forgot to mention.
Yes.
You can get a look at the schematic plan for the school we actually have our own website, School Building Committee. Best way to get there is to go through the school website, lunenburgschools.net. There's a link for the School Building Committee, and there again, there's a schematic up there, and they're working on some frequently asked questions to get up there as well. So we're starting the communication process with the residents, and we're hoping to get large iterations of the plans up here, Ritter, at the schools, at the library, so people can look at it as well.
Excellent.
We didn't go with the sewer commission.
Sewer commission, yes.
Couple of the major items I already touched on, the outsourcing contract. They are working with many different residents around the extensions of the sewer around the district the way it is configured now. But the one thing I'd wanted to point out is that they have an amnesty program at the moment. If anyone has an illegal connection, they're waiving the fee that they have adopted of a $5,000 penalty, and they've given I don't know the exact amount of time they have, but if anybody is connected to the sewer and did not do it through the town process, they need to contact them to waive any fees that may happen. After that, it'd be $5,000 penalty.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we didn't talk about building reuse. Do you want to do that now or in public comments? It's not on the list.
Okay, building reuse.
Okay, met last evening. We created task teams to draft and review 4 possible building use options, looking at costs, benefits, obstacles, and potential outcomes. The task teams will be doing their staff work and then reporting back to the committee for recommendations. The next meeting is August 19th at TC Passios, which will include a tour of the building, and John Wanda will host us.
Excellent. Town manager reports.
I have a small spreadsheet I'm passing out. Oh. So I received a request to provide an update on capital items. So this spreadsheet is a list of all of the capital items that were approved under the capital planning article at this past spring town meeting. And I've made notes on the status as of today. The first item was $18,500 for a chimney repair at Town Hall. I did make a note that we kind of have an informal hold on that. We're hoping to maybe get some feedback from the Building Reuse Committee before we did anything, but if it goes on too long, we will be moving forward on that, but thought it might be wise to just hold off for a short time. Next, $45,000 for marked cruisers. Those are on order. We do purchase those through statewide contract. $20,583 for pistols and holsters, 40 sets. Those are on order as well. We had money for demolition of buildings, cemetery, and parks. We had a total of, let's see, $39,000 that was approved. They're shown separate on this spreadsheet. In terms of the parks building, I did decide to go ahead and do a phase 1 environmental analysis on that building just because of the use that has existed there for a number of years. I did receive that report back last week. I haven't had a chance to go through it in detail, but there's nothing flagged as a potential issue, so I think we will be able to just move forward with that without the fear of any environmental issues. In terms of the cemetery building, demolishing that, that has to be approved. The demolition needs to go through the Historical Commission, and we are in the process of getting an application ready for the Historical Commission to review. And then the third building was that one on Flat Hill, and we will include that when we proceed with all of the buildings together.
Thought we weren't going to demolish that.
Well, if we demolish it, we will include it.
Okay.
I should have said that. If we demolish it, we did have some discussion about whether or not we should demolish that.
Right.
Yeah. The school items, I don't have an update from John Londa, and that is my fault for not requesting that from him in a timely manner. Down to technology, townwide, we have a budget of $45,000. We order that equipment throughout the year, depending on when we can schedule replacements, installations, that sort of thing. During the beginning of the fiscal year, our IT staff, for the most part, works within the schools to get the schools ready over the summer. So they do most of the IT upgrades at the schools in July and August. And their time dedicated to outside of the schools this year really has been in facilitating the transfer to the regional dispatch. But as the schools open, they'll start working on some of these other items as well. Next is the ambulance, $215,000 appropriated to replace an ambulance. The fire department has prepared the specs for the ambulance, and Chief Procurement Officer, which is me, is currently putting together the bid packet, and I do anticipate that we'll have that ready for the end of this month. Unfortunately, you don't purchase ambulances off of statewide contract. It would be much easier if we could do that, but that's not something you can easily purchase because there's so much customization from department to department. So we will be going through a regular procurement, and that one has been on hold as we've done some of the other procurements. Next is 35 sets of turnout gear. $37,000 was appropriated for that. One of the items on the Capital Planning Committee agenda for next week is to review this item. The fire department did receive a grant for some equipment, and the fire chief is looking to change out. There seems to be some inconsistency with what turnout gear represents. So he reviewed that with me. I suggested that he review that with the with the capital planning committee. I think it makes sense what he would like to do, but I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and moving forward, we do the same thing. Because turnout gear, typically, we're purchasing a couple sets a year, maybe 3 or 4 sets a year for that amount of money. So this 35 sets of turnout gear is not a full set of turnout gear as he defines it. So I want to make sure that everybody is talking about the same thing. We also had $40,000 appropriated for an unmarked cruiser. That is on order. Intersection improvements at Townsend Harbor and Mulpus Roads, $30,000 appropriated for that. And we have executed a contract with the engineer for the minor design that needs to be done. That was executed 7/31/13, so we are moving forward with that. I believe that contract was for $4,000 to do the design, and then the rest will be for the construction. $40,000 for exterior improvements at the library, and I had made the photocopies before I realized I missed out on that one. But the facilities director was putting together the specs to put that out to bid, because anytime we go over $25,000, we have to do the full-blown procurement process. So he actually called in a couple of contractors to review some items to make sure that he was detailing the scope of work accurately, and as he was doing that, has reason to believe that the price, he could significantly reduce the price to something maybe even close to half of that. And I think it has to do as much with the market as anything. So we are looking at that in a little more detail, but if we're under that amount, then we just have to get the written quote. So we just want to make sure we're catching everything there. So that's it for fiscal 14, aside from the school items, and I will get an update from the school facilities director and forward that to you. In fiscal 13, there is only one item remaining at this point in time, and that is repair to the Ritter roof. And we did have a contract for that work, and we were hoping to get it done in the spring, and the contractor changed his mind, decided he didn't want to do the work, so we went out and we solicited written bids for the work a second time, and that work will start by the end of this month and be completed by the end of September. Probably, it probably will all be done yet this month, but there was a little holdup with that. So because capital is approved as a separate warrant article, although we identify it with the fiscal year, it doesn't close out at the fiscal year. It stays in that article until it's expended, and we have a process where part of the funding for capital going forward is reappropriating the unexpended proceeds of a previous capital article. So I just wanted to point that out, that even though we try to get the work done in the same fiscal year that it's appropriated, it doesn't always happen, and that's not a problem because it's part of a separate warrant article.
So I noticed some of the funding for the town hall chimney work is a grant from the Montechusett Historical Commission, and I'm just curious, as we're looking at reuse of buildings or potential, I don't know, other ways of doing things, are there any additional grant fundings that we could lean on our historical commission, society, et cetera, to help identify? Can we do anything more with that internally?
Well, I think you probably have one of the best resources already on the committee in Pat Slattery. Mm-hmm. The grant that is associated with this project came from the Montechusett Regional Historical Commission. Pat is either the chair or he's on the board of directors there. I think if he wasn't a Lunenburg resident, I don't think we would have received that grant, but I do think he is probably one of the best resources, so I would pose that question to him. This is something that traditionally there isn't a lot of grant money available, and cities and towns typically, if they have the Community Preservation Act, they're using Community Preservation Act funds for these types of projects, and I think outside of having access to CPA the funds are very limited.
It's just funny, it's whenever we have a conversation about, spending on capital, spending on building repair, maintenance, as you talk to people in the community about it, like the response is always, well, there's all this grant money out there. Why don't we get more grants? How can we get some grants? Why can we spend our tax dollars on this stuff? And like, here's a wonderful example. It's like we're going to spend $18,000. We've got a $3,000 grant, which is wonderful that we have, and I appreciate every penny of that, and I appreciate Mr. Slattery for making that happen. But, it's as we look at this building, as we look ahead at what we're going to have to do with this building, if we're going to maintain it, keep it, et cetera, there's going to be a lot of thinking that there's a lot of grants out there that, we don't have to pay for locally. And it's just, the reality doesn't seem to support that. And I think, if people have a better idea, glad to hear it.
Or if they know, this specific grant or something, I'd be, happy to be informed about that. I'm not going to claim that I am aware of every grant program that's out there, but I would be surprised if there's something big out there that we've missed. And I think in the past we've been pretty darn successful in obtaining grants for different things for a community this size. But
I know public safety, that's been absolutely true.
Yeah.
The Mass Historic Commission used to have funding, but it was cut back in the 90s for most of its grant funding, and municipal use usually was not there. That usually went to nonprofits and other buildings that had no source of funds.
One of the things we discussed last night at the Building Reuse Committee is to kind of turn over every stone to look for possible resources, but at the same time to try to put to bed any misconceptions. One of the items that came up was things that take a long time to happen, and folks saying that that particular building's been vacant a long time or whatever, and to make sure that everyone knows that there's a plan for that and it's proceeding, and it just takes longer than you might think it does. So we're addressing all the possibilities, but at the same time we're hoping to address a lot of the perceptions as well.
I think it's important two-prong approach.
Right.
I think it's a great idea. Okay, Household Hazardous Waste Program update.
I wanted to take a few minutes to kind of update you on the progress and the status of the Devens Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center. This is the fiscal 13 marked the second year of operation for this facility. This is something that was a long time in coming, and it was put together through grant funds. There are 10 or 11 communities that entered into an intermunicipal agreement, and at a recent meeting, you agreed to amend the agreement to allow another community in. This is a facility that is over at Devens. It is open twice per month, 10 of 12 months per year. So prior to having access to this facility, residents in most communities, Lunenburg included, had access to dispose of household hazardous waste perhaps once or twice a year, which wasn't terribly convenient. I mean, if you're like me, when I have it in my mind that I want to get rid of something, I want to get rid of it that day. And a lot of times when we would see, issues, somebody's moving out of their house and they have some paint or they have other things that they want to get rid of, and it's a stressful time anyway. So it's nice that this facility is open as frequently as it is. We pay about the same to be a member of this facility as we did when we had our days here, our household hazardous waste days here. For anybody thinking that if I'm going to drive all the way over to Devens and I'm going to sit in a line for a long time, the average wait time is 3 minutes over at Devens. And the facility in fiscal 13 closed with an operating surplus of about $10,500. So that was pretty exciting for the program. In terms of attendance, and I do have some of this on the website. I'm going to put some more on the website, but the busiest month in the last fiscal year, we had 120 people attend in June. So in the 2 days in June, there were 120 people that attended. Throughout the year, there's anywhere from 7 to 120 that attend in the 3 hours that the facility is open. So you can see very, very, very low wait times. In terms of number of attendees by town, Lunenburg had only 64 individuals that participated in fiscal 13. That was up from 52 individuals in fiscal 2012. So it's something that I'd like to get the word out, so perhaps people aren't aware of it. Groton is the biggest user of the facility. They had 167 people attend last fiscal year. But there are all kinds of items that you can dispose of. There is a fee based on what you have to dispose. $20 for up to 5 gallons or 5 pounds of material, or $40 for up to 10 gallons or 10 pounds of material. For residents, businesses are allowed to dispose of household hazardous waste, provided that they pre-register, and they are small quantity generators, and that means that is a term of art. But the facility, again, it's open twice a month on the first Wednesday of the month and then the following Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The facility is located at 9 Cook Street on Devens. The website is www.devenshhw.com, and you can dispose of anything from mothballs to oil-based paints and stains, household cleaners, gasoline, antifreeze, weed killers, fungicides, that type of thing. So it really is of great benefit, and I would encourage residents of the town to participate in the program.
Excellent. That all?
The only other item I have is the Unitil, their rate case. I don't know if you wanted to go through that again.
Well, I think we should probably put a discussion about that for next week, because I think Paula may be interested as well, and we just we received it just yesterday, I believe. But, so, is everybody okay with putting that on next week?
There's no deadline for intervenor status.
Well, I didn't see it. I can find that out.
Okay.
I'm all set.
All right, so let's go back to the further discussion of the Board of Selectmen policies and procedures. So what I'd like to do is, everybody received some additional ones. We got through the main packet, and now there are things that people are now wanting to review. So what I'd like to do is choose another day for a workshop to do that. I mean, the last Tuesday of the month seemed to work well last time. I don't know if everybody's up for that this time. That would be the 27th? 27th. Is that okay with everybody? And let's try to move it. Can everybody make it since it's a workshop, can everybody make it at like 6 or 6:30? Start a little earlier?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So 8:27, 6 or 6:30? 6?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Nothing else on the agenda. I would ask if there's any final public comment from the board. None? Any final public comment from the public? Good evening.
John Whalen, 526 West Townsend Road. Just going back to the solar projects discussions, I missed town meeting, I apologize. Couldn't make it that weekend. Town meeting, what was on there for the warrants for the solar projects? There was the EPG and Chase Road projects, power purchase agreement, and pilot agreements, correct?
At the December 2012 special town meeting, not this past annual town.
There was
meeting.
placeholders for these, but we didn't.
if they're, right, if we did have placeholders on the warrant in the event that the developers requested modification, which they did not.
Okay. I was curious about that because I wasn't sure if there had been modifications or anything proposed or approved at that time. Because I could have sworn the power purchase agreement the original time around, there were actual numbers thrown around, and I know the numbers that are being used now for the credits, because the price has changed since then, are much less favorable than they were at the time and at the time that was approved at town meeting. So I was just curious if that was an issue, that what was approved at town meeting in, was it December or was it, I guess it was December. If that was okay, that the agreement is less favorable than what was actually presented to the town at the time.
What was presented to the town was essentially a pro forma based on what we believed, what the offer was at the time. The vote of town meeting was specific to the dollar amount for personal property per megawatt for the pilot agreement. And in terms, in terms of the power purchase agreement, it was the length of time that the power purchase agreement would extend, which is 20 years.
I believe it was the terms of the power purchase agreement, which was cost as well as length of, and I could have sworn that at the time it was proposed that it was, it wouldn't be worse than this deal that was presented before the town at that time. So I was just curious if that was an issue or not. I honestly don't know, because again, I said I wasn't at town meeting this year, so I thought maybe something else had been passed. So I wasn't aware of anything, but just wanted to raise that one. I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. And second of all, since then, I guess a lot of discussions come around giving a pilot program and coming up with an amount for a pilot. And I could have sworn the numbers we were throwing around originally for if this was, say, a business that was opening on Chase Road with, you know, so many $1 million in equipment, that I could have sworn that the tax rate would have been a whole lot higher than a personal tax rate to run a business on residential land. Was there an issue around? I could have sworn the numbers were a lot higher than 18,000 per megawatt.
No, that's what they always were.
Yeah, that's what was always.
And that's purely the personal property.
Because wasn't there another way to recalculate that other than personal property at 18,000 a megawatt, but actually to tax them at a, what was the business tax rate for that, so many $1 million worth of equipment?
We have a single tax rate
Yeah.
in town. We had significant amount of discussion regarding how to value that enterprise, and that went on for a very long period of time.
I know there was a question with all the assessors in the state not knowing what to do.
And the Department of Revenue weighed in on that, and came up with a standard valuation. Actually, the standard valuation, I think, was after we had come up with that $18 per megawatt.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a lot of talk about different numbers before that, but when it came to the warrant, that 18 was agreed upon by everybody.
And so now instead of 110 acres, it's only going to be 10 acres that's included in the
real estate taxes.
in the real estate taxes?
Right.
Well, no.
Well,
No, the whole parcel is, but the non-building lot, so the 10 acres excluded that is being used for the project,
Yeah.
the rest of it, they're going to put it in chapter,
Okay.
which
Now,
is
which
when
is their
that-
right.
And when that happens, doesn't that give the town right of refusal when someone puts a piece
They
of
take it
property
out.
into?
if they
ever
take it out or change the use, yes, the
Right.
town has the first right of refusal.
Okay, I was just curious if that was something that was true in this case or not.
Well, not going into it, but only
Coming out, I got you, okay.
And that, I did specifically have that conversation with the developer.
Okay. Are there any other changes to the projects that we haven't heard about yet, or anything in the works that?
In terms of the size of
Yeah.
the project, there are no changes.
Okay, can always hope, right? Any thought that maybe the town would purchase the other piece of land over by the church for the EPG project?
There has not been any discussion of that.
Okay. Well, no, I was just saying that I know that there's been a question as to ownership there and whether it's in bankruptcy and whatever and who would buy it or whatever. I thought maybe the town would want to get involved in not only getting the power purchase agreement and the pilot, but also being the lessor and leasing the property to EPG and be able to bring that in as well. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if it would be beneficial to the town or not. I just figured I'd throw it out there. I'm not sure how much they're looking for the property.
Me neither.
Anyway, thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment from the public? Okay, seeing nothing else on the agenda, we have a next meeting will be a week from today, August 13th, at the same time, 7 o'clock, unless posted otherwise, but that will be determined by the end of the week. And I would entertain a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Good night, everyone, and hope to see you all at the Monday night concert.
Orchestra at our next Tanglewood broadcast from the Berkshires.
Violinist Gil Shaham plays Sibelius on Friday night.
Pianist Yefim Bronfman plays Beethoven Saturday night.
And on Sunday, more Beethoven with pianist and conductor Christian Zacharias. I'm Kathy Fuller.
I'm Ron Della Chiesa. Join us for another great weekend of live